The loading dock at Wexler Freight Systems didn't wake up gently. It woke up like a machine taking its first breath. Hydraulic lifts whining, steel rollers clacking, diesel engines coughing into the cold air. Floodlights cut through the early fog and turned every drifting breath into smoke, every moving shadow into suspicion. And on Dock Lane 4, suspicion had already chosen its target. Kira Dawson stood between two shrink-wrapped pallets, as if the job itself had boxed her in. A grey thermal sweater hugged her arms beneath a neon safety vest. Her hair was pulled back with a cheap elastic that had been stretched too many times. Her hands were raw from tape and cardboard, the kind of hands that earned every dollar they touched. Around her, a ring of workers formed, half curious, half careful, the kind of circle people pretend isn't a circle until you realize you can't step out of it without being chased by stares. At the center of that circle stood Briggs Harlan, dock supervisor, chest out, jaw tight, voice loud enough to fill a warehouse. "Where's the freight, Kira?" It didn't feel like a question. It felt like a verdict. Kira swallowed, throat suddenly dry. "What freight?" Briggs lifted his clipboard like it was holy scripture. "Don't play dumb. 2 pallets, medical supplies, high value, order code W19A, cleared your station. Now it's missing." Behind them, the dock kept moving because the dock always kept moving. A forklift beeped somewhere in the distance. A metal door slammed. A pallet jack rattled over a seam in the concrete. But for Kira, time snapped into a narrow, shaking tunnel. She saw the 2 security contractors near the inner gate, outsiders in black jackets with radios clipped high. One of them held a small body camera at chest level, not aimed at Briggs, aimed at her. Kira felt the lens like a thumb pressed against her forehead. "I didn't take anything," she said, forcing her voice steady. Briggs laughed, a sharp practice sound that said he'd enjoyed this before. "Of course you didn't." He stepped closer, lowering his voice just enough to sound reasonable while still making sure the whole dock could hear. "Then explain the scan trail." He turned the clipboard outward. Her login scanned it. A murmur rippled through the circle. People shifted their weight. Somebody's boots scraped the concrete. Kira stared at the paper like it was written in another language. "My login? No, I didn't." Briggs cut her off, voice snapping louder, making it impossible for her to think. "You didn't what? You didn't scan it, you didn't see it, you didn't take it, or you didn't think we'd notice." Heat crawled up Kira's neck. She looked around for one friendly face, one person willing to meet her eyes and say, "This is wrong." Most people looked away. On docks like this, there were rules nobody wrote down. Don't contradict a supervisor in public. Don't attach yourself to someone who's falling. Don't make enemies when rent is due. Kira's hands curled into fists at her sides. She forced herself to breathe through her nose, slow, measured, the way she did when Jaden spilled juice on the carpet at home, and she had to keep calm because there was no room in her life for panic. "I didn't take your freight," she said, "and if you think I did, check the seal numbers." For the first time, Briggs's smile twitched, just a fraction, almost invisible, like she'd touched a wire. "Seal numbers?" he scoffed, the laugh too loud. "Look at you, trying to sound official." Kira's voice grew stronger because truth sometimes does that when it's cornered. "Those pallets were sealed. If someone broke the seals, that's on camera." Briggs's eyes narrowed. "Camera caught you in the lane." Kira's stomach dropped. "What?" Briggs snapped his fingers at the contractor with the tablet. "Show her." The contractor hesitated, then lifted the tablet and tapped. A grainy clip played, Kira's silhouette in the lane, pushing a pallet jack. The video was real enough to make her heartbeat stumble, but Kira saw it instantly. The angle was wrong. The timestamp didn't match the shift change she remembered. The clip ended before the pallet moved fully into frame. It was the kind of proof that worked until you asked the next question. Kira opened her mouth. Briggs raised his voice again, louder, drowning her logic in volume. "Company policy." he announced like a man conducting a public execution. When freight goes missing, the last scan owner is responsible. Kira's lips went cold. That's not... Hand over your badge, Briggs said. Kira blinked, confused by the bluntness. What? Briggs pointed at her chest. Badge, now. Kira's heart pounded hard enough to hurt. She thought of her son, Jaden, 7 years old, at school right now, backpack too big for his body, asking her every morning, "You're picking me up, right?" If she lost her job, she lost aftercare. If she lost aftercare, she lost hours. If she lost hours, she lost rent. Rent didn't care who was innocent. "I need my badge to work," she said. Briggs smiled like she'd told a joke. "You're not working!" The contractor stepped forward. Kira backed up a half step. "Don't!" The contractor grabbed her lanyard and yanked. The plastic clip snapped. The badge fell to the concrete like something dead. A nervous laugh flickered from the edge of the circle, then died under the weight of everyone realizing this wasn't funny. Kira stared down at her badge. Her name, her employee number, her life reduced to a piece of plastic on the floor. Briggs bent down, picked it up with 2 fingers like it was contaminated, and held it between them. "You're done," he said. Kira's breath came shallow. Her mind raced, grabbing at anything solid. Policies, procedures, the basic fairness she'd been taught to believe existed somewhere, even if she'd never seen it. "Call the police," she said, surprising even herself with the steadiness. "If you think I stole, call the police." Briggs froze for a heartbeat, a tiny flinch, almost nothing. But it was real. Guilty men hated police reports. Guilty men preferred internal resolution. Then Briggs recovered, face tightening. "We will," he said sharply. "But first, we search your locker." Kira's face went pale. "You can't." "Watch me," Briggs said, and the doc shifted, hungry and uneasy, as if humiliation was part of the morning routine. That was when Grant Wexler stepped into the circle. He didn't look like a man who owned anything. No entourage, no suit screaming money. A plain dark coat, work boots, a calm posture like he belonged in every room because he'd learned how to move through rooms without asking permission. Grant didn't like being recognized on his own flaws. Recognition made people perform. Performance made truth slippery. He'd come down to the dock because the loss numbers had been climbing, quietly, consistently, like a leak behind a wall. In logistics, losses didn't climb without either incompetence or theft. In his experience, incompetence was loud and messy. Theft was quiet and organized. He'd been watching for patterns. He hadn't expected to witness cruelty. Briggs turned toward him, automatic authority in his stance. "Sir, this is a restricted area." Grant's gaze moved across the crowd, then settled on Kira. He saw the tremor in her hands, the way she held herself upright like her spine was the only thing she still owned. He also saw something he respected, the dignity. Guilty people often got loud. They got defensive. They bargained. Kira wasn't bargaining. She was asking to be heard. Grant spoke calmly. "What's her name?" Briggs blinked. "Excuse me?" Grant repeated. "Her name." Briggs hesitated, then answered, sensing power in the calm. "Kira Dawson." Grant nodded once, then looked at her directly. "Kira," he said, "did you take the freight?" Kira met his eyes, and for a second, everything in her face tightened, as if she expected another trap. Then she said, "No." The word didn't wobble. Briggs scoffed. "Of course she says no." Grant's gaze snapped to him. "I wasn't asking you." Briggs shut his mouth. Grant turned to the contractor. "Stop recording her," he said. The contractor froze. "Sir, I..." Grant didn't raise his voice. "Stop." The contractor lowered the tablet, uncertain. Briggs tried to reclaim the room. Sir, we have evidence. We have scan logs. Grant held up a hand. "Show me the bill of lading." Briggs blinked. "The what?" "The BOL," Grant said. "The shipment paperwork." Briggs waved the clipboard. Right here. Grant stepped closer and glanced at the page. One page. His eyes narrowed slightly. Most people on the dock didn't know this, but Grant did. High-value shipments didn't travel with one page. They traveled with two. The first page was basic manifest. The second page carried the quiet truth. Seal numbers, custody notes, route exceptions, signatures, and the kind of detail criminals hated because paper didn't care how loud you yelled. Grant looked up at Briggs. "Where's page 2? Briggs's jaw tightened. "There's only one." Grant stared at him for a beat too long. "No," he said. "There's not." Briggs's face reddened. "Sir, with respect, this is dock management. We're protecting the company." Grant's voice stayed level. "You're about to search her locker in public," he said. "That makes it my business." Briggs opened his mouth again, but Grant delivered the line that shifted the air. "I'm conducting a loss audit," Grant said, "and I don't like watching my company humiliate employees without complete paperwork." The word company landed like a hammer. The circle went quiet. Even the distant machines seemed to pause. Kira blinked. "Your company?" Briggs's face shifted. Fear, recognition, a forced smile that looked painful. "Mr. Wexler, sir, I didn't realize." Grant's eyes held him steady. "You didn't ask," he said. "You decided." Briggs swallowed. "We're trying to protect the brand. Guests, clients." Grant cut him off. "Protect the truth," he said. "That's how you protect everything else." He turned to Kira. "Do you have a locker?" Kira nodded, barely. Grant looked at the contractor. "We're not searching anything until we have full documentation and proper procedure. Understood?" The contractor nodded quickly. "Yes, sir." Briggs tried again, voice sharp with desperation. "Sir, the freight is gone. We can't just—" Grant's tone didn't change. "We can," he said, "and we will. Quietly, correctly." Then he leaned slightly toward Kira and spoke low enough that only she could hear. "Hold your ground," he said. "Systems get away with this when you collapse." Kira's eyes filled, but she didn't let tears fall in front of Briggs. Not yet. Grant didn't drag Briggs into a public fight. Public humiliation was easy. Justice was harder. Justice needed evidence that could survive lawyers and time. He guided Kira out of the circle, into a narrow corridor beside the shipping office. The dock noise dulled behind a heavy metal door. Kira's breathing turned shaky. "I'm going to lose everything," she whispered. Grant's voice stayed calm. "Not if we move fast." Kira stared at him as if she couldn't decide whether to trust him. "Why would you help me?" Grant didn't answer with charity. He answered with the truth that mattered to him. "Because someone is using my company as a weapon," he said, "and because you're the one bleeding." Kira swallowed hard. "I didn't steal," she said again. "I didn't." Grant nodded once. "I believe you." Her eyes widened, stunned, not because she trusted him completely, but because nobody had said that to her all morning. Grant's mind was already moving through the dock like a chessboard. Every system had choke points, paper, cameras, scan devices, people who controlled them. He pulled out his phone and made 2 calls. The first was to Elena Vance, head of internal compliance, a woman who treated paperwork like law. The second was to Troy Maddox, former logistics security, now the man Grant trusted when things turned ugly behind the scenes. Then Grant did one more thing, quiet, crucial. He ordered a digital freeze, no deletions, no edits, no cleanup. Not on scan history, not on camera retention, not on dispatch logs. In a clean operation, freezes were boring. In a dirty one, freezes made guilty people sweat. Within an hour, Elena arrived with a laptop already open, hair pulled tight, eyes sharp. Troy arrived right behind her, broad-shouldered, scanning exits out of habit, moving like a man who assumed the building itself could betray you. They met in a small conference room overlooking the dock through dirty glass. The room smelled faintly of printer toner and stale coffee. Grant hated rooms like this. Too many bad decisions had been made at tables like this. Grant laid it out fast. High-value shipment missing. Kira blamed publicly. Paperwork appears incomplete. Supervisor is pushing resolution without procedure. Elena didn't look up. Incomplete how? Grant slid the BOL copy across the table. 1 page. Elena's eyebrows tightened. That's not standard. Troy leaned in. Could be a software print glitch. Grant's voice stayed steady. Could be, or it's intentional. Elena's fingers flew across her keyboard. If page 2 exists, it'll show seal numbers and custody notes. If the seal numbers don't match, the doc narrative collapses. Grant nodded. Find page 2, he told Troy. Troy stood. On it. Elena continued, I'm pulling scan trails and edit logs. If someone used her login, there will be device mismatch, location mismatch, timing gaps. Grant nodded. And I want CCTV from lane 4 in the cage. Elena hesitated. CCTV retention is controlled by dock management. Grant's gaze hardened. Not anymore. He looked at the glass, down at the dock, forklifts, shadows, men moving pallets like chess pieces. He'd built Wexler Freight on 3 pillars: speed, precision, accountability. Docks ran on speed. People like Briggs weaponized speed. Rush the accusation so nobody could ask questions. Grant would respond with precision. Bring Kira in, he said. Kira entered slowly, like she didn't trust the floor to hold her anymore. She sat at the edge of a chair, hands clasped, knuckles white. Grant didn't make her tell the story like a confession. He asked specific questions, questions that created a map. What time did you handle that shipment? Kira swallowed. Near the end of night shift, around 5:10, Elena typed. Which scanner device? Station 3, Kira said. The blue one. It glitches sometimes. Elena nodded. Good. Device ID is logged, Grant asked. Did you touch the seal? Kira shook her head. No, it was sealed when it came in. Yellow tag. Number started with 77. Grant's eyes narrowed. Good detail. People who lied avoided details. People who worked in systems lived in them. What about the paperwork? Grant asked. Kira's voice dropped. Briggs wouldn't let me see it. He just yelled about scans. Troy returned briefly to report. Marco won't talk inside. He'll talk behind the tire bay. Grant nodded. Then we talk behind the tire bay. Before Troy left again, he asked Kira, who else was on lane 4? Kira looked down, thinking. Marco and Devon. Devon's new. He listens to Briggs. Grant stored the names. He turned to Elena. Find the print history for that BOL. If page 2 was printed, it's in spool logs. Elena's gaze sharpened. Yes. Kira watched them like she was watching a rescue team assemble, unsure if they could actually pull her out. Even if you prove I didn't steal, she whispered, they'll still hate me. Grant looked at her. Let them, he said. Hate is cheap. Proof is expensive. Kira's throat tightened again. Grant wasn't promising comfort. He was promising something better, a chance at justice. Grant walked the facility with Troy, not like a CEO touring a floor, but like a man hunting a leak. He noted who glanced away too quickly, who watched too closely, who moved when they thought he wasn't watching. He saw Devon lingering near dispatch, eyes darting. He saw Briggs talking to the same contractor again, too close, too urgent. Grant had learned long ago that people weren't complicated. Motives were usually simple: money, fear, pride, control. And when those collided, the innocent became collateral. By midday, Eleanor's analysis started producing shape. Kira's login had scanned the load, but not from Station 3, from a mobile scanner assigned to Devon. The timestamp sat 13 minutes off the pattern of her normal workflow, just enough to place her on paper where she wasn't, while she was physically at a different station logged in under her own ID. Eleanor's eyes were sharp when she said it. They used her identity. Grant stared at the line of data. And the seal number? Elena's fingers moved again. Seal number in system history was edited. Grant's jaw tightened. Edited by who? Elena tapped the screen. Admin login, Briggs. Troy exhaled slowly. He's not just bullying, he said. He's running a scheme. Grant nodded, feeling the cold click of certainty begin to lock in. He's going to move the freight off-site, he said. Soon. Elena looked up. We can freeze dispatch. Grant shook his head. If he's this bold, he'll use a shadow pickup. Someone who isn't on the schedule. Troy's voice dropped. Then we set eyes on the exits. Grant nodded. And we find page 2. But the unexpected key arrived not from the office, rather from the road. Across town, a small roadside church held a weekly trucker's meal. Coffee, soup, a warm chair for anyone who lived in a cab. The man who ran it was Pastor Joel, late 50s, kind eyes, hands that looked like they'd lifted engines before they ever lifted a Bible. Kira had been there once months earlier when her car died, and she didn't know who to call. Pastor Joel had helped her with no questions, no judgment. He remembered her. That day, he noticed her because she looked like someone walking through fire. She didn't come asking for money. She didn't come asking for pity. She came with the raw fear of a mother whose life had just been pushed off a cliff. Pastor Joel listened while she explained what happened. He didn't interrupt. He didn't try to fix it with easy words. When she finished, he said his mantra softly, like a rope. God sees what the camera doesn't see. Kira tried to breathe, tried to believe. Then, at the back table, a man who'd been quietly eating soup looked up. Older, lean, weathered by long miles. His hat sat in his hands. His eyes were calm and serious. His name was Liu Wen, though most people called him Mr. Liu. He stood and approached with care, as if he knew fear could spook a person into shutting down. Sorry, he said to Kira. I hear your name. I hear Doc. Kira wiped her face with the sleeve of her sweater. You drive our lanes? Mr. Liu nodded. Sometimes. Night. Pastor Joel's posture tightened slightly. He'd learned to read when a stranger carried something heavy. Mr. Liu lowered his voice. They talk about you, he said. Not English. Kira's heart stumbled. What? Mr. Liu glanced around the church as if walls could have ears. Mandarin, 2 men. They think no one understand. Pastor Joel's face hardened. What did you hear? Mr. Liu leaned closer. They say, use her scan. Hide second page. Move freight before morning. Kira's hand flew to her mouth. Pastor Joel exhaled slowly, and his eyes closed for a heartbeat, like he was absorbing the weight of what that meant. Not a mistake, not a misunderstanding, a plan. Mr. Liu looked at Kira. You not thief, he said simply. Kira broke in silence, shoulders shaking. Pastor Joel put a hand on her shoulder. God sees, he murmured. Then he said, call Mr. Wexler. Kira had Elena's number. Elena had told her, if anything changes, call immediately. Kira dialed with trembling fingers, and Grant answered after 2 rings. Wexler. Kira's voice shook. Mr. Wexler, I'm with Pastor Joel. There's a trucker here, Mr. Liu. He heard them. Talking in Mandarin. A pause. Grant's voice sharpened. Not angry, focused. Put him on. Kira handed the phone to Mr. Liu. At first, Mr. Liu spoke in careful English, searching for words. Grant listened without impatience. Impatience made people shut down. Then Grant said a few words in Mandarin, not perfect but respectful, enough to show he wasn't treating Mr. Liu like a tool. Mr. Liu's eyebrows rose. You understand? Grant's voice stayed calm. Enough. Tell me what you heard. Slowly. Mr. Liu did, repeating the phrases, the intent, the way the men laughed when they said second page. as if hiding paper was a joke no one would catch. Grant asked, "Where did you hear it?" "Near dispatch radios," Mr. Liu said. Grant's mind tightened into a clean line. Dispatch, paperwork, page 2, mobile scanner, Devon, Briggs. He said, "Mr. Liu, can you come to the facility today?" Mr. Liu hesitated. "I have run. I have load." Grant's voice was steady. "I'll pay for your delay, and I'll put it in writing. This is bigger than one run." Mr. Liu exhaled, then said, "Okay." Grant ended the call and turned to Elena. "We have our foreign language key," he said. Elena's eyes narrowed. "Mandarin." Grant nodded. They thought language was a shield. Troy stepped into the conference room. Marco's behind the tire bay. Grant stood. "Let's go." Behind the tire bay, the air smelled like rubber and oil. Marco stood near the back door, hands shoved deep into his hoodie pockets, eyes scanning like a man expecting trouble. He didn't look like a criminal. He looked like a father trying to survive. Grant approached without Troy at his shoulder because people talked more when they didn't feel cornered. Marco's eyes widened. You're the CEO." Grant nodded. "Yes." Marco swallowed. "I didn't do nothing." Grant's voice stayed even. "I'm not here to accuse you. I'm here to ask what you saw." Marco shook his head fast. "I didn't see nothing." Grant tilted his head. "Marco, I watched my supervisor humiliate a single mother this morning," he said. "If you stay silent, you become part of it." Marco's jaw clenched. "Man, you don't understand. Briggs, he ruins people." Grant's voice dropped. "Then let's ruin the right person." Marco stared at him, a long beat of fear fighting with conscience. Grant continued, "Tell me the truth, and I'll protect you." Marco's eyes flickered. "You can't protect me from everybody." Grant nodded. "I can protect you from Briggs." Marco hesitated, then whispered, "He told Devon to log in as Kira." Grant went still. "Say that again." Marco swallowed hard. "Devon, new kid, wants hours. Briggs told him, use Kira's login. She's always on the system anyway." Grant's eyes narrowed. "What about the paperwork?" Marco's voice dropped lower. "There was a second page. I saw it when the driver signed. Briggs snatched it and folded it in his jacket." Grant's chest tightened with a cold, clean certainty. That second page wasn't missing. It was stolen. Marco's voice trembled. "I didn't want trouble." Grant's gaze softened slightly. "You're already in trouble," he said. "The question is whether you're going to stand in the dark or step into the light." Marco looked away. "If I talk, they'll come for me." Grant nodded. "Then you'll have protection," he said, "and you'll have the only thing stronger than fear." Marco's eyes lifted, confused. Grant said it simply. "Truth." Marco swallowed. "Okay," he whispered. "Okay. I'll testify." Grant nodded once. "Good." When Grant walked back inside, he felt the familiar pull of responsibility tightening around his shoulders. He'd built an empire by seeing patterns and acting decisively. But this wasn't a supply chain problem anymore. It was a moral one. Someone in his company had decided an innocent person was disposable. If Grant let that stand, his wealth was built on rot. He pulled Kira aside briefly and said, "Tonight is the most dangerous part." Kira's eyes widened. "For me?" "For the proof," Grant said. "For anyone who helps you. When guilty people feel pressure, they don't confess. They erase." Kira's voice trembled. "I didn't ask for this." Grant nodded. "No," he said. "That's what makes it injustice." Then he added, steady again, "But you're going to finish it." Kira swallowed hard. "How?" Grant said. "By not disappearing." By evening, Elena had traced the admin edits to Briggs's credentials. She'd pulled print spool logs that showed a second page had been generated, and the print job had been cancelled moments later. Someone had stopped it from becoming an ordinary piece of paper sitting in a tray. Elena looked at Grant. He controlled the paper. Troy said, "He'll control the story unless we catch him holding it." Grant nodded. "Then we catch him," he said, "but we catch him clean." Clean meant something specific in Grant's world. Clean meant chain of custody, witnesses, documentation, no shortcuts that could later be twisted into a legal escape hatch. He split the operation into 2 lanes like freight. Elena would run Team A, compliance documentation, digital monitoring, and ensuring every step could survive court scrutiny. Troy would run Team B, floor surveillance, exit monitoring, and intercepting any physical evidence before it disappeared. Grant would be the bridge between them, the decision point, the one who took the heat. In the background, he did the backstage math. Shift schedules, camera angles, security coverage, dispatch patterns, the overwrite window on certain systems. He knew that if Briggs had accessed the scanner logs, he'd likely try to manipulate camera retention too. Some warehouses had a 24-hour rolling retention on internal cameras, especially in secondary corridors. If Briggs waited long enough, the truth would simply be overwritten by time. Time was the favorite weapon of corrupt systems. So Grant took time away from them. Night in a warehouse wasn't quiet. It was a different kind of noise. Fans humming, radios crackling, distant clanks of metal. The yard lights made everything feel exposed, and yet somehow more secretive. Grant watched from a discreet mezzanine office that overlooked the dock like a balcony over a stage. Below, forklifts moved like insects, precise and relentless. Troy stood beside Grant with binoculars. Elena sat behind them with a headset and laptop, eyes locked on dispatch logs and access events. Kira sat in the corner, wrapped in a spare jacket, phone in her hands, texting Jaden's sitter to confirm pickup plans for the morning. Because even while her life was on the line, motherhood didn't pause. Outside, headlights swept across the yard. A truck rolled in, unmarked, not on schedule. Troy stiffened. "That one's not on the board." Elena's fingers moved fast. "No dispatch record," she said. "Not ours." Grant's eyes narrowed. "Shadow pickup." Troy's voice dropped. "And Briggs is moving." On the dock below, Briggs appeared near the admin door, walking fast, glancing over his shoulder. He wasn't wearing his reflective supervisor vest. He wore a plain jacket. Honest work didn't hide uniforms. Grant's voice was calm. "He's going for the file room." Elena looked up. "We have access logs on that door." Grant nodded. "We need him handling the paper on record." Troy asked, "We take it from him?" Grant's gaze stayed steady. "We preserve it," he corrected. "We don't steal evidence. We document custody." Troy nodded and moved out, descending the stairs like he was melting into the dock shadows. Grant watched him go, jaw tight. This was the part nobody saw when they thought justice was a courtroom speech. Justice was logistics, decisions, timing, risk, quiet steps in loud places. Briggs punched the keypad to the file room and slipped inside. Troy waited 10 seconds, then approached the door. He typed a master access code Elena had secured under audit authority. The lock clicked. Troy entered. The file room smelled like paper dust and old ink, the scent of bureaucracy hiding in an industrial building. Filing cabinets lined the walls. A desk lamp cast harsh yellow light on stacks of forms. Briggs stood at a cabinet labeled Ball Archive, rifling through folders like a man looking for a life raft. He froze when he heard the door. Troy's voice was calm. "Evening?" Briggs's face flashed anger. "What are you doing in here?" Troy stepped forward slowly, hands visible. "Loss audit," he said. "Authorized." Briggs sneered. "This is dock management." Troy's eyes stayed cold. Not tonight. Briggs shifted his weight, fingers tightening around a folder. Get out. Troy didn't move. He pointed. What's that? Briggs's eyes flickered. Nothing. Troy's voice stayed steady. Then show me. Briggs's grip tightened. You don't have authority. Troy cut him off. You're right, he said calmly. So we'll do this right. He lifted his radio. Elena, bring the camera. Briggs's face changed, just a fraction. Fear. Because documentation was kryptonite to corruption. Briggs stepped back. This is harassment. Troy didn't blink. Harassment is what you did to Kira, he said. This is accountability. Briggs's lip curled. She's a thief. Troy's voice went colder. If she is, paperwork proves it. If she's not, paperwork proves you. Briggs's hand shook slightly, and in that shake, the truth showed itself. Then Briggs bolted. Not out the front door, toward the back exit of the file room that led to the yard. Troy lunged, grabbing Briggs's jacket sleeve. Briggs twisted hard. The folder flew from his hands, scattering papers onto the floor like falling leaves. Briggs shoved Troy hard enough to stagger him back. Troy caught himself. Briggs ran out the back. Troy didn't chase immediately, because on the floor, in the scattered mess of paper, something was visible. Bold seal numbers, the kind that didn't belong on page 1. The top of page 2. Troy spoke into his radio. Grant, he said, we've got paper down. Grant's voice came back calm. Do not touch it barehanded. Troy swallowed. Understood. He stepped back like the paper was explosive. In a way, it was. If handled wrong, it would blow up in court. Elena's voice crackled. I'm on my way with gloves and evidence kit. Troy's eyes flicked toward the back corridor. Briggs was running, and outside, the unscheduled truck was idling. Briggs burst into the yard, breath visible, eyes wild. He sprinted toward the shadow pickup. The driver's door opened. A man leaned out, shouting something Grant couldn't hear from the mezzanine. Grant didn't panic. Panic made men reckless. Reckless made evidence messy. He moved down the stairs and out into the yard, coat flapping slightly in the wind, boots crunching gravel. Troy stepped out behind Briggs moments later. Troy shouted, Briggs, stop! Briggs turned, face twisted with rage and fear. Then he did what desperate men always did. He tried to escape into motion. He lunged toward the truck's passenger side. Troy cut the angle and grabbed Briggs's arm. Briggs swung a punch, ugly and panicked, grazing Troy's shoulder. Troy didn't retaliate. He simply held on. Because the goal wasn't to hurt Briggs. The goal was to stop him from leaving with the story. The truck driver hesitated, then started revving. Troy's voice went sharp. Shut it down! The driver froze. Because Grant was there now, walking toward them. Not running, not yelling, just appearing with the kind of calm that made men rethink bad decisions. Grant's gaze locked on the driver. Who are you? The driver swallowed. Just a pickup. Grant's voice stayed quiet. Turn off the engine. The driver hesitated, eyes flicking to Briggs. Grant took one step closer. The driver turned it off. Briggs stared at Grant, panting, eyes burning. You're ruining my life. Grant's voice was quiet, dangerous. No, he said, you ruined your life when you decided Kira was disposable. Briggs laughed bitterly. You don't care about her. This is business. Grant's eyes narrowed. You don't know what I care about. He spoke into his radio. Security, police, now, and bring a witness camera. Briggs's face drained, because now it wasn't dock politics. Now it was law. Back in the file room, Elena knelt over the scattered papers wearing gloves. A small evidence camera recorded everything. Hands, paper edges, timestamps, serials, signatures. Kira stood at the doorway, arms wrapped around herself, watching like she was afraid to breathe wrong and wake a nightmare. Elena lifted one sheet carefully with tweezers. Her eyes widened. Page 2, she whispered. It was there, clean, undeniable. Seal number 778941. Root note, custody transfer at 0522. Signature not Kira's. And a stamped note in the margin that detonated the entire setup. Reseal required. Seal broken on arrival. Elena looked up, eyes blazing. This proves tampering before Kira, she said. Kira's knees nearly buckled. What? What does it mean? Grant stepped in behind her, voice steady. It means someone broke the seal, he said, and someone hid the proof. Kira's lips trembled. So, I wasn't the last. Elena shook her head. No. And the scan trail was manipulated. We have device mismatch. We have admin edits. Kira's breath came out in a sob that sounded like exhaustion finally giving up. Grant didn't touch her. He didn't crowd her. He just stood there like a wall between her and the people who'd tried to crush her. Elena sealed the page into an evidence envelope, labeled it with time and signatures, and added the camera timestamp to the record. Then Grant said, "Now we need the audio." Elena nodded. "Mr. Liu is here." Kira blinked. "He came." Grant nodded. "He did." Mr. Liu sat in a quiet interview room, hands folded, eyes steady. He didn't look like a hero. He looked like a man who'd decided truth mattered more than schedule. Elena pressed record. "State your name," she said. Mr. Liu did. Elena said, "Describe what you heard." Mr. Liu inhaled, then spoke in Mandarin first, slow, exact. The cadence carried a calm certainty that made the room feel smaller and more honest. Then he switched to English, careful. "They say, use her scan, hide second page, move freight before morning. If boss ask, say camera not work." Elena's eyes sharpened. "Who said it?" Mr. Liu hesitated, then answered. "Briggs and Devon." Kira's breath caught. Grant's gaze hardened. Mr. Liu continued, "They speak Mandarin because they think no one understand. But I understand." Elena stopped the recording and sealed it. "That's our foreign language proof," she said. Grant nodded. "Language wasn't secrecy," he said quietly. "It was arrogance." Grant chose the battlefield for the confrontation, not his office, not a boardroom, not a place where people could hide behind polished words. He chose the dock floor, the exact place Briggs had staged Kira's humiliation, because if a lie was performed publicly, the correction needed witnesses. The next morning, the dock gathered again, uneasy. Some came curious, some came scared, some came because they didn't know what else to do with a rumor that was now bigger than their shift. Kira stood near the front. She didn't want to. Every part of her wanted to go home and lock the door and pretend none of this had happened. But Grant had told her something that stuck. Systems win when you disappear. So she stayed. Briggs was brought in, wrists cuffed, face gray. Devon stood nearby, pale, shaking, eyes darting like a trapped kid. Elena stood with documents. Troy stood at Grant's side. Mr. Liu stood quietly near the back, hat in his hands. Grant stepped forward and spoke loud enough for the dock to hear. "Yesterday morning," he said, "an employee was accused of theft without complete documentation. That accusation was wrong." The dock went still. Grant held up the sealed envelope. "This is the missing second page of the bill of lading," he said. "It was intentionally hidden. It contains the seal number and custody note proving the seal was broken before Kira ever touched the load." Briggs jerked his head up. "That's—" Elena cut him off, voice sharp. "Chain of custody recorded, evidence sealed, no tampering." Grant held up another sealed packet. "This is a witness statement and audio," he said, "in Mandarin." Some workers looked confused. Others leaned forward, as if language itself was now a weapon in the room. Grant continued, They used a foreign language because they assumed nobody here could understand. Mr. Liu understood. Mr. Liu stepped forward, calm, and spoke a sentence in Mandarin, clear and cutting. Even people who didn't understand the words felt the meaning because the tone carried the weight of truth. Devon's shoulders slumped. Briggs's face tightened with rage. Grant turned to Kira. His voice softened, just enough to make the moment human. "Kira Dawson," he said, "you are cleared." Kira's face cracked. Tears rushed out, unstoppable. She tried to speak, but her throat closed. She covered her mouth with her hand, embarrassed by the sound that escaped. Grant didn't let her be embarrassed. He looked at the doc, then back at her, and said something most CEOs never said where workers could hear it. "We failed you," he said. "We let a supervisor weaponize our systems against you. That ends today." Kira's tears fell harder, not because she was weak, but because she'd been holding the weight alone, and it was finally being lifted in public. Briggs snarled, voice loud, desperate. "She's still—" Grant's voice snapped like steel. "Enough!" Briggs flinched. Grant stepped closer to Briggs, not aggressive, controlled. "This isn't about one shipment," Grant said. "This is about abuse of power." Briggs spat. "You think you're righteous?" Grant's eyes stayed cold. "No," he said. "I think I'm responsible." Then he turned to Devon. Devon stared at the floor, shaking. Grant's voice lowered. "Devon, you're young. You were used. Tell the truth now and you have a chance." Devon swallowed, and the fear that had been holding him up finally collapsed. "Briggs made me do it," Devon whispered. Gasps rippled across the dock. Devon's voice broke open, desperate. "He told me to use her login. He said she wouldn't fight back. He said we'd split the money." Kira's hand flew to her mouth again, not from surprise, she'd suspected, but from the raw pain of hearing her own dignity described as a weakness to exploit. Grant nodded once. "Thank you," he said to Devon. "That's the truth." Elena stepped forward. "Briggs Harlan," she said clearly. "You are terminated effective immediately. You are being handed over to law enforcement for theft and fraud." Two officers moved in. Briggs's eyes burned with hatred. "You're making a mistake. This company runs on people like me." Grant's voice stayed calm. "No," he said, "it runs on people like Kira." They led Briggs away. The dock stayed silent for a long beat, like everyone was waiting for permission to breathe. Then someone clapped once, a single clap, then another, then a wave, not celebration, recognition. Kira's legs trembled. Grant leaned slightly toward her and spoke low, just for her. "You're still standing," he said. Kira nodded, crying. "Barely," Grant's voice softened. "That's enough. Drop a like if you caught it. The second page wasn't just paperwork. It was the trap door the truth used to escape. The legal process moved faster than it usually did, not because systems loved justice, but because Grant understood something most people didn't. When corruption wants to delay truth, it uses time as a weapon. So Grant took time away from them. Evidence sealed, recordings notarized, witness statements signed, digital logs exported with hash verification, every step filmed, every chain documented. Briggs's attorney tried to argue that the second page could have been planted. Elena's documentation made that argument die on contact. Timestamps, camera footage of collection, the glove use, the seals on the evidence envelope, the witness signatures. Devon's confession held because it matched the digital record. Mr. Liu's statement held because it matched the movement of the shadow pickup truck, which security camera footage placed at the yard gate at precisely the moment Briggs tried to flee. The freight itself was recovered from an off-site storage unit rented under a shell name that led back through payment trails to Briggs. Briggs wasn't just a bully, he was a thief with a system. Kira was reinstated immediately, paid for missed hours and placed under a protective status that made retaliation a terminable offense. Devon entered a cooperation program, moved out of dock operations, monitored under strict oversight. Grant didn't do it to be kind. He did it because if Devon got crushed, the system would learn the wrong lesson. Silence is safer than truth. Mr. Liu received compensation for lost run time and a written commendation. Grant also did something quiet that mattered. He ensured Mr. Liu's dispatcher received the written delay authorization so Mr. Liu wouldn't get punished for doing the right thing. Then Grant changed the system itself. He required 2-page verification at every custody transfer. No exceptions, no printer glitch excuses. If page 2 was missing, the load didn't move. The doc hated it at first because it slowed them down. Grant didn't apologize for slowing down a system that had been speeding over innocent people. He implemented dual authentication for any admin edit to scan trails and seal numbers. He installed a third-party audit monitor that flagged anomalies, logins used in multiple locations, sudden timestamp shifts, cancelled print jobs on high-value BOLs. He created an anonymous hotline managed outside the company because internal hotlines were often just rumor funnels that ended at the desk of the very person you feared. Eleanor told him, "People will say you're soft." Grant stared at the dock cameras on his screen. "Let them," he said. "Soft is letting innocent people get crushed because it's faster." Troy nodded. "Briggs wasn't the only one," he said. "There are always more." Grant's gaze hardened. "Then we keep hunting," he said, quietly, constantly, because justice wasn't a one-time event, it was maintenance. 2 weeks later, Kira sat in Pastor Joel's small office, hands wrapped around a paper cup of coffee. She looked different, still tired, but less hunted. The fear lines around her eyes weren't gone, but they weren't as sharp, as if her body was starting to believe the nightmare had actually ended. "I keep thinking," Kira said quietly, "if Mr. Wexler didn't show up, what would have happened?" Pastor Joel nodded slowly. "You would have been fired," he said, "and the story would have followed you." Kira's fingers tightened around the cup. "Why are people like that?" Pastor Joel didn't offer a neat answer. "Power makes some people confuse control with permission," he said. Kira's voice trembled. "I was so angry. I wanted to hate them." Pastor Joel nodded. "Anger isn't sin," he said gently. "It's a signal." Kira swallowed. "Then what?" Pastor Joel leaned forward. "Then you let God turn that signal into strength," he said. "Not bitterness." Kira's eyes filled. "How?" Pastor Joel's voice lowered. "Simple, direct. You keep telling the truth," he said, "even when it costs." Then, just once, explicit but not preached, he added, "Jesus is the truth," he said, "and he doesn't abandon you when the crowd turns away." Kira exhaled, shaky, like something inside her had been starving and finally got air. Pastor Joel reached across the desk. "May I pray with you?" Kira nodded. Pastor Joel bowed his head. "Lord Jesus," he said softly, "thank you for bringing truth into the light. Heal her fear, protect her child, give her peace that the world can't steal. Amen." No sermon, no performance, just a moment of truth bigger than paperwork. 3 months later, Kira walked back onto the dock with a new badge on her vest and a different posture in her shoulders. The machines were the same, the concrete was the same, the cold air was the same, but she wasn't the same. Grant had offered her a role that wasn't charity. It was responsibility, inventory integrity coordinator. She reviewed scan anomalies, verified 2-page completeness, trained new hires on custody protocols. She became the person who made the second page impossible to hide. On her first day, a new hire stood beside her at Station 3, the blue scanner, nervous, hands hovering over buttons like they were afraid to break something. "Is it true?" the kid whispered. "Someone got arrested?" Kira nodded. "Yes." The kid swallowed. How did you not give up? Kira looked down at the scanner, then back at the kid. She didn't give him a motivational speech. She gave him the simplest truth she had. I didn't do it alone, she said. The kid frowned. Who helped? Kira's eyes lifted toward the mezzanine office, where Grant sometimes watched quietly, a silhouette behind glass. She saw him there, standing still, observing the dock like a man who understood that leadership wasn't comfort, it was protection. Then she looked back at the kid. God saw me, she said, and people followed the trail. Grant stood in that office later with Eleanor beside him and Troy leaning against the wall. Elena reported that loss was down 30% since the reforms. Troy joked that criminals had an allergy to paperwork. Grant didn't celebrate. He watched Kira walk the lane with a clipboard, steady and calm, and felt something settle in his chest that he hadn't felt when the quarterly numbers hit. Not pride, relief, because a system had been corrected. Because someone vulnerable hadn't been sacrificed to keep a supervisor comfortable. Because truth had been followed. Grant's voice was quiet. This is what leadership is, he said. Eleanor looked at him. Numbers? Grant shook his head. No, he said. Not letting the strong eat the weak. Outside, forklifts beeped. Pallets moved. Trucks came and went. The machine continued. But the machine had been repaired, and in a world that often rewarded the loudest liar, that repair felt like something holy. Comment Team A or Team B. Team A is clean chain of custody proof that wins in court. Team B is moving fast on the floor before truth disappears. Either way, the second page wins.